And so the Miami Grand Prix has roared into life. Looked fabulous in all the TV shots we saw, the overhead shots, the drone shots, the track shots. Beautiful job they've done there. Congratulations to all involved. Very early days, of course, but the significant thing about first practice at Miami is that the time slot, which was 2:30 to 3:30, is about as near as we're going to get to qualifying and the race start. So we'll talk about it in a little bit. How they finished on soft tyres right at the end of FP1 is a little bit of a pointer as to how qualifying's going to go. But first, the headlines from FP2 in the afternoon session. George Russell, quickest overall. Thought I'd never be saying that this year. Nothing against George, of course, but the way Mercedes has been going, absolutely brilliant performance. Brilliant from the Mercedes team as well, because they do seem to be porpoising, still bouncing, but so do Ferrari a bit at the end of the straight. But around the lap, the Mercedes looks to be a much, much better race car. Still early days, of course. The track's got to pick up grip. It's one of these street circuits, a new circuit that is going to pick up grip as the weekend develops. But right now, it looks as if Mercedes, the big story of the weekend so far, is that Mercedes are much more competitive than they have been in the first four races. That's great news. As I say, George Russell, absolutely brilliant in both sessions. Let's have a look at the results of the soft tyre runs in FP2. It was a fragmented session because Carlos Sainz went off in both sessions, in FP1 and FP2. And as the car came to rest, it was, sorry guys, I don't know what happened. And we've heard that before from Carlos. We know exactly what happened. Too spiky with the power application and the steering application compared with Charles Leclerc, an incredibly high level that he's got to attain in order to match Charles. And while he can do that over the lap, periodically on a really good set of tyres, to do that endlessly, run after run after run, for Carlos Sainz is proving to be a very, very steep mountain to climb. What he needs to do, in my opinion, is what, and we'll talk about this later on, is what Alex Albon did over the winter. A lot of work with Rob Wilson, softening up his inputs, and you can see the result now with Alex Albon's driving. He was a very, very fast racing driver. Now he's a very fast and polished racing driver. And Carlos Sainz could achieve that, but he needs to go in that direction, in my opinion, my humble opinion. Anyway, this fragmented session and the soft tyre runs that they did, George Russell, the only driver all day under 1 minute 30, 1:29.9. You can see there his top speed, 324 kilometers an hour, compares really well now with Ferrari. It's the first time we've seen the Mercedes that competitive in a straight line through the speed trap as well. Charles Leclerc, 30.0. I don't think he'd be particularly happy with that run. There seemed to be traffic, there seemed to be issues on various sectors, so I'm sure he had a little bit more to come, but nonetheless, a great performance from George, as I say. Sergio Perez, 30.1, 334 kilometers an hour. Really, really quick. No Max Verstappen there because Max also had a big problem. I say Sainz had a problem, spun, but this wasn't Max's fault at all. A lot of smoke coming from the right rear, and as he was going back into the pits, he said, I can't steer the car. The steering's completely stiff. Presumably something in the hydraulics there, but he didn't go out again. So he didn't really do a soft tyre run or a medium tyre fuel run towards the end either. And then Lewis Hamilton, 30.1. A lot of issues with traffic today. Not issues, just got a lot of traffic. But if you look at various sectors, Lewis was very, very quick as well. Right there, well, he's only a tenth, 2/10 slower than George anyway, and really quick in sector 3 on that run, 322 kilometers an hour. Fernando Alonso looking good in the Alpine, 30.3, 329 kilometers an hour, really quick in a straight line, almost up there with the Red Bull Hondas, Red Bull Hondas. And Lando Norris, 30.5 in the McLaren Mercedes. Rather quiet day for McLaren Mercedes, but good to see Lando that good on the soft tyre. And then once the Carlos Sainz car had been retrieved, and then they'd allowed for another stop when Nicholas Latifi, not on this occasion, hit anything, he just ground to a halt in the Williams. They went out for very short runs now. There's only about 10 minutes to go, and they got onto medium tyres and did some fuel runs. And there you can see the fuel runs in FP2. George, a really, really competitive run there, just consistently fast, faster than Lewis, you've got to say as well. I'll be talking about that a little bit into the video. Charles Leclerc, really impressive in the Ferrari. Didn't get in many laps though, as you can see, only 2. But he was out there, but he just got traffic and various things going on. Sergio Perez, really quick in the Red Bull, 33.7. So who knows what Max would have done in that car on a proper run. And Lando Norris put him in there again for comparison with the Mercedes, but you can see now Mercedes, if you look at the average of those runs, see George compared with Lando, George appears to have a significant advantage at the moment, at the end of the first day of running in Miami. Lots of incidents, lots of drivers touching the wall on the exit of tight corners. Some great corners. Turn 7, which is you go through a few, actually a very nice change of direction, 2-3s, nice change of direction. They've got a head-on camera shot, and you can see the drivers that are just not putting too much load on the car in the middle of that change of direction. Max being a very good example of that, looks fabulous through there. Charles Leclerc looks to be leaning on the car a little bit more than Max on that change of direction. Anyway, going down into 7, great corner because they're approaching it. It's an increased radius corner, very fast approach, but it's approach with load in the car. And that's where Valtteri Bottas went off this morning. We'll talk about that a bit later on in the video, and therefore didn't really feature for the rest of the day in the Alpha. But a nice corner, but lots going on, as I say, and my way of getting around to saying I think the race is probably going to feature quite a lot of safety car interventions, and no doubt the engineers will be building that into their software programs as I speak. Before we go on to FP1, which is significant, as I say, because the ambient temperatures of FP1 towards the end were pretty similar to what we're going to have in qualifying and in the race, unlike FP2. Top speeds with fuel in the car. Again, quickest in a straight line by a significant margin, the Red Bull Sergio Perez 310. But look at Mercedes, 293 for Lewis, not a great run there, but George, 300 kilometers an hour, compares very favorably with Charles Leclerc, 304 in the Ferrari. So again, top speeds with fuel, underlining how Mercedes are much more competitive now. But before we get on to FP1 and the significance of those soft tyre runs at the end of FP1 relative to qualifying, let's have a look at what happened right at the beginning of that session when the track was in reality brand new to everybody. I know they have simulators back at the factory. I know they do a lot of work in the build up to this race. And of course, there are variables going into that first lap. There may be differences in fuel load, and drivers that go out first will have a slightly slower track than drivers that go out 5 or 6 minutes later. But let's have a look. So I love looking at drivers as they go into a brand new circuit to see what they do on their first flying lap. Opening moments. Let's just talk about the opening moments. It's always a special moment when a new track is driven for the first time. Nobody really talks about it very much, but I love to look at what they do on their outlaps. Who is really quick on their first ever flying lap of the circuit, the brand new circuit. Of course, they're all running in simulators before they come to Florida. Of course, there are differences in fuel load and when they go out on the track. I mean, the guys that go out immediately are going to have a dirtier track, obviously, than those that go out 5 or 10 minutes later. But let's just have a look at the times as they crossed the line at the end of their first flying laps in Miami. This is all the drivers who got under 1:39. Max Verstappen, I mean, I think the pointer about this is that it does show the confidence that drivers have in their cars. If it's a really drivable car that you feel at one with, you feel the surface of the road, as Mario Andretti would say, then you're going to be quick on a first flying lap. So look at that, Max Verstappen 36.0. Charles Leclerc 36.9. No real surprise there. Red Bull we think is probably a better chassis now or better all-round package than the Ferrari, but more of that in a second. Carlos Sainz 37.3, right up there as well. Yuki Tsunoda, very nice job. Didn't actually go very quickly towards the end of the session, but look at that. That's confidence, or is it just young bravery? Who knows? 38.3. Sergio Perez 38.5. Yeah, again, an expected lap time. Esteban Ocon, another good job. You'd imagine somebody like Fernando Alonso maybe would have been quicker on his first flying lap, but not. It was Esteban 38.6. Maybe that's a pointer to the weekend as well. Lewis Hamilton, on his first flying lap, actually quicker than George Russell, who's in the 39s. So Lewis 38.7, bit of raw adrenaline there, I guess. And Daniel Ricciardo 38.8, a nice lap from Daniel as well. So that was that. That was just a little bit of a cameo by those drivers, I think. But always fun to look at that. Now let's have a look at how they finished FP1. Charles Leclerc had a really good session, 31.0. He did that time right at the end. They're all out on soft tyres. Carlos Sainz didn't do his 31.5 on softs, he was on mediums. That's because when he was on softs, I think he just glanced the wall and probably punctured the tyre and then had a big lose as a result and came back into the pits with the punctured right front. Didn't hit anything, but as a result of that, they presumably didn't want to give him another new set of softs, and so they put him onto mediums. It's a very good lap time by Carlos. But getting back to the top, Charles Leclerc did a lot of laps, 26 laps. I mean, that's about as many as you're going to cram in to a 1 hour session around a circuit like Miami. Quite a long lap, of course. So very good day for Charles. He had a few moments, but not Imola type moments. He just, he was right on the limit, had a really good run. 31.0. Look at the speed trap now, 321, 321 kilometers an hour. George Russell, 326. You have to say on the basis of that, it's not massively quick. So all of a sudden, Ferrari and Mercedes doing the same speed through the trap. Now, it's either that Mercedes, we've got a much better compromise now, which they probably have, or Ferrari are running more downforce than they need to, and we may see that change in FP2. We'll have a look at that. So 321 and 26 laps, as I say. George Russell, 326, 23 laps. Great lap by George Russell, 31.1. I mean, this guy's driving so well. As predicted from the start of the year, this is going to have an impact, and is having an impact probably on Lewis, whose morning in Miami wasn't brightened by a ruling from the FIA, from the stewards, to say that the wearing of jewellery in the form of body piercing or metal neck chains is prohibited during the competition and may therefore be checked before the start. Now, I'm sure other drivers do wear wrist things and stuff around the neck, but that's basically written for Lewis Hamilton, you've got to admit it. And so I have to say, in this 21st era, this liberal era of Formula One, I think it's a bit surprising that it was brought out into the open, A, and B, it was obviously a surprise to Lewis. You'd think there would have been some discussion behind closed doors. I mean, after all, the guy is a 7 times world champion, and he has been wearing jewellery, as far as I can see, from the minute he drove for McLaren in Formula One. So, because that rule obviously was going to affect the 7 times world champion more than any other driver, you'd imagine there would have been a bit of discussion about it. And Lewis obviously was upset about it. And when he arrived at the circuit this morning, made a statement. He was wearing watches, jewellery, bracelets, the whole thing. But then eventually Mercedes did conform. He did take everything off. And it was all settled. But that wouldn't have been a great start to the day for Lewis. And it reminds me, going back in time, when in 66, I guess, when Jackie had that big shunt, Jackie Stewart at Spa in 66 in the BRM, the big deal after that was they all had blood group bracelets on their wrists, so that if an ambulance, they were in an accident, they could look quickly and see what blood group they were, and at least if there was a transfusion, they had a starting point. Of course, they would have checked it, but it was a starting point. And they were all metal. They were metal things. It was like a blade that they used to have over the wrist, and Jackie Stewart used to have that. So, racing drivers have been wearing bracelets like this forever. Anyway, it suddenly came in, and that was a bit of a weird start to the weekend, I thought. Anyway, getting back to it, George Russell, 31.1. I mean, he's really quick. And now Lewis is in the position where he goes out and does a lap time. You think, oh, wow, that's really quick, Lewis. And then George goes out and goes half a second quicker. Because, Lewis needs to start digging deep, actually, to match George, let alone to go quicker than George. Very impressive performance. So the Mercedes, you can see there, 326 kilometers an hour in a straight line through the trap, actually quicker than the Ferrari. And that's the first time this year we've seen that. And that's either Mercedes have suddenly got an amazing compromise on the car, and it's going to get faster and faster as the weekend progresses. But it looks to be an anomaly at the moment based on the first 4 races so far. Max Verstappen, you can see they only did 14 laps. And at one point he was complaining about, when am I going to give him the chance to go and learn the circuit? He spent a lot of time in the garage after his first run. And they brought him in the middle of a run, which annoyed him as well, it seemed. 31.2, he got out of the car earlier than the checkered flag. But you can see that 335 kilometers an hour through the trap. So again, Red Bull looking to be unbelievably good. And if you think about him doing that lap time in 14 laps, and he was quickest on his first flying lap of the circuit, you can see how much confidence Max has in that Red Bull at the moment. Sergio Perez backing that up with a 31.3, 335, exactly the same speed through the trap. You'd expect that, but 22 laps, yeah. Fair enough. Pierre Gasly, very good job. Nice to see AlphaTauri kind of, at the moment, appearing to recover a little bit from being in the doldrums at Imola, and 333 kilometers an hour, again with that Honda engine, Honda Red Bull engine, through the speed trap. Very impressive, 27 laps. So Carlos Sainz, after that spin on the soft tyre, when he was going really quickly, they obviously didn't want to use up another set in FP1, so they put him onto mediums, did that 31.5 on mediums. Good lap time, you know, half a second slower. Very impressive, actually, 25 laps. Good run, apart from that spin, but he looked very sharp and very quick as well. But then another mega result. Alex Albon, 31.8 in the Williams Mercedes, 331 kilometers an hour in a straight line, 20 laps. You know, that is, I mean, it's a lot quicker in a straight line than the two factory Mercedes. Well, I say a lot, it's significantly quicker. And a really good job by Alex. Very impressive. I always felt, and perhaps I sound a little bit condescending here, but I always felt that all Alex needed to do was spend a few days with Rob Wilson softening out some of his inputs, because he's got this beautifully fluid style of driving, great car control, great balance, but he does occasionally have spiky inputs. And sure enough, you know, having done some work with Rob, he's now looking really good, particularly on this new circuit. So good job by Alex Albon, good job by Rob Wilson too. And Lewis Hamilton, 31.9 against George's 31.1. Same, slightly slower through the speed trap, but you know, that's where he was really slow in sector 2 compared with George. So maybe that lap time of Lewis is reflective of some traffic in sector 2. They were same in sector 3, and Lewis was a 10th off, I think, in sector 1. So maybe that was traffic, but it didn't affect him in a straight line as such. So yeah, a really good start to a new Grand Prix on the calendar. Interesting to see how some of the teams went to Miami and basically have taken this to the next level of where Formula One is getting to the crowd and getting to the public. And for at least three of the teams, AlphaTauri, Mercedes and Williams, going the sort of Miami art graffiti route and doing various things on their cars, which is good to see, you know, lots of different colours. And I thought there was a nice video put out by AlphaTauri of Pierre Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda going to spray their helmets. And I should mention this because I think it's quite a cool thing. This is Pierre Gasly spray painting his helmet in a graffiti area of Miami. And those helmets, and I think Yuki's as well, will be auctioned for the Red Bull charity, Give You Wings. So that's a very nice thing. Have a look at their website and try and win one of those helmets. I love the colours. I love the way the lilac and the light blue. I love the way they've adopted, obviously, the colour scheme of this channel as well. And AlphaTauri have taken the lead from this YouTube channel. Yeah, right. Valtteri had that moment at turn 7, and I'm not going to read out this section from the Alpha preview to Miami because he went off. I'm going to read it out because I'm amazed they gave away such confidential and astounding information. They said, and I quote, "Making the most of every session and delivering a clean weekend will be crucial to bringing home a strong result." I mean, I've never heard anything like it. Have you ever heard that being the case at any race, anywhere? Anyway, yeah, I think everybody's got a bit crazy for Miami at the moment. But yeah, you know, lots of good things going on. And we'll see whether or not Lewis is going to be as good around Miami as he obviously is when he's chipping these days.